And now, for my next act, the tall, lanky magician announced to the audience, I will make my beautiful assistant, Ms. Johansson, vanish. Detective John Carter sat in the audience, observing the performers. He'd seen the show numerous times and still couldn't figure out how the amazing Grimm made his tall assistant disappear. It wasn't just that, he could saw her in half, make her reappear off stage, only to walk down the aisle later, strutting her fishnet-clad legs and high heels like she was on a Paris runway. Carter leaned back, finishing his martini, and focused on the rest of the show. He was supposed to go on a stakeout tonight but would have had another drink if he weren't on duty. He thought about his assignment, a series of 30 jewelry heists across the country. His detective work had shown a pattern. Wherever Grimm performed, jewelry turned up missing the following day. Hi, I'm Anthony Sellers, head of security at the museum, said the middle-aged man, offering his hand. But you can call me Mike. Carter shook his hand firmly. I've been in touch with the curator. She said it's fine if I stay here tonight. I hear you've got a rare emerald exhibit? Yes, I've got everything covered. I've been doing this job alone for 12 years, Mike replied, his voice tinged with irritation that the police were involved. That new curator, Linda. He thought to himself. Any unusual deliveries recently? Carter asked. Not that I know of. Let's check the delivery list. The two scanned the records and found nothing unusual in the museum's recent deliveries. Now we wait, said Carter. Want some coffee? Mike offered. Nah, I'm good. Thanks, Carter responded, glancing at his watch. Only night owls are awake at this hour, he mused. Then, he added, but do you have any? Suddenly, a creaking sound echoed down the hall. What was that? Probably just the wind, Mike said, pouring hot water. The storm outside was growing stronger. Then, footsteps. Soft and deliberate. Both men felt their stomachs drop. No matter how many times you arrest a criminal or surprise a thief, you never really know how it will play out. You just have to push past the fear and do what's right. Both men drew their guns and moved quietly down the hallway toward the source of the light coming from a storage room. Carter peeked inside and saw the magician and his assistant, Sarah, holding emeralds and diamonds. The two were smiling. Freeze! Detective Carter, Metropolitan Police. You're under arrest. Grimm paled but managed to grin. Sarah dropped the necklace she was holding and froze. In a split second, Grimm tossed a cufflink into the air, and as it hit the ground, bluish smoke swirled and filled the room. Carter fired 2 shots to the side of where the thieves had been, immediately regretting it. There was no real threat. A loud slam echoed, and a blinding light erupted from 2 wooden boxes. Now, there was only one. I said freeze. Carter shouted again. Mike saw a figure heading for the remaining box and rushed toward it, too late. He tried to open it but couldn't. He noticed 2 holes from the bullets and saw a faint bluish light emanating from inside. The light was growing brighter. He glanced to his left and saw the other box suddenly appear. In a split second, he hopped inside. Once inside the box, the detective saw a silhouette struggling to crawl through the quickly dissipating bluish mist, as if trying to escape. The backdraft from the open box forced the mist back toward Carter, and it began to engulf him. His body tingled as he fought to get out, but the strange chase kept pulling him deeper. The sound of a woman's scream echoed from the mist, and he reached into the darkness, feeling a door closing. Whatever it was shutting off. The last thing he heard was the fading cry, "No, no," as everything went silent. Somewhat reassured that he'd disrupted the thieves' escape plan, Detective Carter shook off the lingering effects of the mist. The sweet scent still clung to him as he stepped out of the box, the tingling sensation in his body subsiding like a mild electric shock. He wiped the sweat from his forehead with the cold metal of his gun. Ouch, he muttered as he accidentally nicked himself on the gun. Staggering through the dimly lit room, he searched for a light switch. A cold draft brushed against his legs. Confused and still a little shaken, he reached down and felt soft, smooth skin through what felt like torn, nylon-like material. His hands moved upward, tracing the outline of hips, a concave waist, and a flat stomach. He lifted his loose shirt and continued to explore the unfamiliar form. "What the hell is going on?" he muttered aloud in disbelief. Just then, Mike entered and flicked on the light. "You all right?" Mike asked, his jaw dropping at the sight before him. There stood Detective Carter, or at least, his face. Below his neck, however, was the body of a woman, slender legs, and a shapely figure. Carter looked down in horror, dropped his gun, and pulled at the blouse he was now wearing. He peered down, hoping it was just a clothing change caused by the mist. "Mike! Damn it, Mike! Help me," he shouted after making the shocking realization. "I don't get it," Mike stammered. "What did you do?" "Those are the same clothes I saw Sarah in." It must be some magic trick, right?" "No, Mike, it's not a trick. I've somehow got her body," Carter exclaimed. "Look at me. I was chasing someone into the box, I shot, and then the blue mist engulfed me. I couldn't get it off. And now, look at me. I can still smell it. I've got her body, Mike." Carter cried, now barely dressed in Sarah's outfit and only one shoe on. "Calm down, pal," Mike said. "Let's get those boxes in the light." They dragged the damaged box first, then the other. As expected, both were empty, except for one woman's shoe at the bottom of one, matching the one Carter was wearing. "I've got to get out of this," Carter said, pulling at the blouse as though trying to tear it off. He removed the high-heeled shoe, revealing his slender, sweaty foot. "Don't panic," Mike urged. "There has to be a way to make these boxes work. Every magician has their secrets. Look for a button or something." "No! This was something strange, I'm telling you." I heard Sarah scream, then the glowing blue cloud. I think it was some kind of capsule they had. It all went wild. I grabbed what I thought was her arm. But I want to know where my body went. If it's not in those boxes, do you think? "You mean?" Mike trailed off. "Do I think she ended up with your body?" "Yeah. If I have her body, and I definitely do," Carter said, squeezing his thighs together, "then if she didn't die in this crazy act, maybe she's walking around with my body. That should be easy to spot." Mike raised an eyebrow. "How's that?" "An attractive woman walking around town, with hairy legs and no chest." "Sounds like a dead giveaway to me," Carter said with a frustrated smirk. "Let's hope so," Mike said, "but even if we find her, getting back to normal, that's going to be tricky, even for Grimm. She's probably going to be harder to track down than you think." Carter shivered, then added, "Help me find something to change into. I can't walk around like this. I'll be the laughingstock of the whole force." "Sure, there's probably a janitor's jumpsuit or something around here," Mike replied, glancing at Carter's feet. "Though you might be barefoot." The two continued searching. Meanwhile, across town, Carter's body was being discovered. "Ah!" a woman screamed as she stared at herself in confusion. "What happened?" she gasped, looking up at Grimm. They had always been the same height, 6 feet 1 inch, but now, she was shorter than him and felt stocky. She looked down at the pants and tennis shoes she was wearing, as well as her flat chest. The box, she pointed to the magic boxes, must have been damaged. "We need to fix this." The tall, lanky magician approached her and placed a hand on her shoulder. "We can't go back now. We've been discovered. If we return, they'll lock us up." He stepped back, his face tense. "I'm not sure how this happened, but we'll figure out how to switch you back." He glanced at the emerald in his hand, and an idea sparked in his mind. "Look at me," she shouted, her voice on the edge of hysteria. Nothing in her life had prepared her for this moment. Her heart pounded wildly in her chest. Check if you have any ID on you, Grim said, trying to regain her focus. She reached into her pocket and pulled out a wallet. Inside was a badge and a driver's license. Name, John M. Carter. Height, 5 feet 8 inches. Weight, 180 pounds. Address, redacted. From the date of birth, Sarah saw he was 41 years old, far older than her 28 years. A wave of dizziness hit her, and she felt a headache forming, or was it the onset of fainting? Grim caught her in time and thought, just as I suspected. I recognized him from the last few performances. He looked at the semi-conscious Sarah. We'll get your body back, I promise, he lied smoothly, flashing a grin that revealed a gold-capped tooth and a pencil-thin mustache. Mike hurried around the corner with some clothes he'd gathered from the museum's wardrobe department, an eclectic mix of outfits from various eras. He handed John a long trench coat and a pair of mannequin-sized pants. John struggled to slip them on, noticing his painted toenails and bare feet. The pants were a bit too short, but at least they fit around his hips and accentuated his shapely backside. He pulled on a shirt that looked like something a pirate might wear, a loose, flowing white garment. Thankfully, Sarah had been wearing a bra, though, under any other circumstances, having access to such assets would have him excited. But now, with them attached to his body, he felt nothing but discomfort. Why the hell didn't you tell me the boxes were moved here? John snapped at Mike. Mike raised an eyebrow but didn't respond to the reprimand. I'm afraid I couldn't find any shoes that fit you, he said, still reeling from the bizarre situation. You'll have to wear those. He pointed to the high heels Sarah had been wearing during the transfer. Considering the storm outside and the wet concrete, John had no choice. He thought, even the clothes at the hotel won't fit me. He had to do something, and fast. Surprisingly, he was starting to adjust to the height difference as his mind recalibrated to his new body. He shook himself out of his daze and said, we need to get to the nightclub where they were performing. They'll know where Grim is staying. He slipped his feet into the heels as Mike locked up the building and set the automatic alarm. Mike returned to the room with a piece of paper in his hand. This is why I didn't know about the boxes. The new curator didn't log them in. The paper revealed that the boxes had been brought in that morning. Look, John said, my car keys are still on the table with my hat. You stay here, just in case they come back. Even though they have a good reason to return, I don't think they're going to risk getting caught this early. They're probably as disoriented as I am after seeing what happened to Sarah. God, I hope she survived the switch like I did. I can't imagine being stuck in this body forever. John glanced down at his newly acquired chest. I'm going to swing by my apartment and then head to the club before they close. Write down my number in case anything comes up. We might need to reach out to Linda, too, he said, heading for the exit. Mike jotted down Detective Carter's number and started straightening up the room. John stumbled towards his car, his steps awkward in the high heels. The sound of the heels echoed down the empty alley, except for a few women standing on the corner, watching him. Before he could reach his car, one of them approached him. John wasn't in any condition to make an arrest, his badge and ID were now with Sarah. He felt awkward in the mismatched clothes and tried to ignore the women, but one of them was persistent. Hey, handsome. Name's Candy, one of the women said, stepping directly into his path. John had to stop, as she wasn't letting him pass without acknowledging her. Nice toenails, sugar, she added with a smirk. Embarrassed by the heels, John replied, good evening, Candy. Look, I'm in a bit of a hurry, maybe another time, we can talk later, he stammered. He couldn't help but wonder how a woman could dress like she did, stockings stopping at her thighs and a low-cut blouse, then sell herself on the street. Strangely, he also imagined what it would be like to dress like that, considering he could now if he wanted to. Oh, you look like you could use some candy, she said, smiling as she tried to tempt him. She reached into his coat and, without hesitation, touched him inappropriately, hoping a quick advance would change his mind. Please, I really need to go, John said, trying to pull away. but the woman's hand slid down to his inner thigh as he struggled to break free. She felt the softness through his clothes and quickly realized something was wrong. "You're not a," she started, her voice turning suspicious. "Hey, mister. What are you, some kind of freak?" "Damn it," John muttered, frustrated. In a panic, John broke into a run, awkwardly stumbling in the heels toward his car. He clutched his chest and coat, trying to keep his breasts from bouncing too much. The women in the alley laughed and whispered as he passed, some even whistling at him as he drove by. Phew, that was a mess, he thought to himself, trying to calm down. I need to get to the apartment and change. As he drove, his free hand, light and delicate, brushed along his leg. It's so soft. I wish it was my other hand feeling this body, in the right body. Arriving at his apartment, he found the place ransacked. His clothes were missing from the closet, and a suitcase sat on the bed. On his nightstand was a note from Grimm, confirming his worst fears. It read, "We know you're in a desperate position. We want $3 million in unmarked bills, then we'll discuss changing you back. Meanwhile, you can keep what's in the suitcase as a reminder. We'll be in touch." Carter opened the suitcase, revealing a collection of Sarah's clothes, panties, bras, and outfits. Most of it would fit him now. He grabbed a pair of panties and a bra that were more comfortable than what he was wearing, though all of it was lacy and see-through. He also found some of his older clothes to put on over them. Wearing several pairs of socks, he managed to fit into his own shoes, though the clothes felt loose on him. At least it would do for now. Now, to get to that club, he thought, ready to continue his search. John slid into his car, once again feeling the tightness in his slacks from his widened hips and pelvis. They fit perfectly at the waist, though. His shirt was tight across his chest, barely buttoned. At least the trench coat concealed his figure, and his own shoes were easier to walk in. As he drove, he couldn't help but reflect on his bizarre situation. How the hell am I going to come up with $3 million? His foot pressed harder on the gas pedal as he sped down the highway. This kind of thing doesn't even happen on the X-Files. If only my ex-wife could see me now. She'd be laughing non-stop. He felt humiliated. What if I have to stay in this body forever? How am I going to explain this to the Force? The only upside he could find was that he was taller now. While Mike was looking for clothes for him, John had taken a moment to examine his body. The only thing he could think about was that Sarah was a true blonde. He pulled up to the bright neon lights of the nightclub and parked. He got out of the car and walked up to the club, where a janitor answered the door. After a phone call to confirm John's identity as a cop, the janitor helped him search for any clues about the magician's whereabouts. They even reached out to the club's manager, who was asleep at home. It was just 6 a.m. usually. John would be exhausted after a long stakeout, but adrenaline kept him alert. I can't find anything here, Maurice, the janitor said after searching. I'll take a look around some more, John replied, continuing his search backstage. All the equipment from the magic act was gone. Nothing was left behind. John sifted through the trash Maurice had emptied and found a hotel receipt. It could have belonged to anyone at the nightclub, but it was a lead. Chances were, the magician had been staying there, and the receipt was for 2 rooms. Well, we'll just fix the boxes and I'll get my body back, Sarah said hopefully. It's not that simple, Grimm replied, lying. He suspected the emerald he now wore around his neck was the real cause of the switch. It had fallen out of Sarah's bag when she tried to escape, and he only found it later while inspecting the boxes. He could feel its power. Grimm had once been a second-rate magician, but after inheriting, or stealing, the teleportation boxes from his former mentor, who he had killed, he had used them to set his plan in motion. Now, with the emerald, everything had changed. He had performed 5 acts in this place, all to make sure the scene played out perfectly. We have to try, Sarah said, determination in her voice. I can't stay like this forever. It's just temporary. Once we get the money, we can retire in the Bahamas, and you can marry me, Grim said, trying to reassure her. The idea disgusted her. Grim was tall and thin, with no physical build to speak of. His crooked nose and pencil-thin mustache made him look like a B-rate actor. Hell, now she was stronger than he was with her new body. She hated the thought of carrying a man's body. With a sigh, she retreated to her room to rest. The baggy clothes she was wearing hid her figure, but any man who saw her face would still think she was beautiful. The idea of being used as ransom didn't sit well with her. John arrived at the museum and met Mike there. He explained what he had found: the suitcase, the ransom note, and the hotel receipt from the nightclub. Mike, just off his shift, was now free to help. John slid into his car again, feeling the same discomfort as before: the tight slacks, the shirt pulled tight across his chest. At least the trench coat kept most of his body hidden, and his own shoes made walking easier. As he drove, his mind raced. Where in the hell am I going to get $3 million? His foot pressed down harder on the gas pedal. This doesn't happen in real life. I mean, my ex-wife would never let me live this down. He felt his embarrassment deepening. What if I have to stay in this body forever? How do I explain this to my colleagues? The only advantage he could find in his predicament was his newfound height. While Mike had been searching for clothes for him, he had taken a moment to examine himself. The one thing that stuck with him was that Sarah was definitely a natural blonde. John pulled up to the neon-lit nightclub, parked, and got out. The janitor let him in after confirming his identity, and they started looking for any trace of the magician. They even contacted the nightclub manager, who was fast asleep. It was only 6 a.m. John, usually tired after a long stakeout, was full of adrenaline. "I can't find anything here, Maurice," the janitor said. "Let me take another look," Carter replied as he continued searching behind the scenes. All the equipment from the magic act was gone, and nothing remained. Carter went through the trash that Maurice had cleared out and found a hotel receipt. It could have belonged to anyone at the nightclub, but at least it was a lead. Given that most people at the club were probably locals, it was likely connected to the magician. The receipt even showed 2 rooms had been booked. "We can fix the boxes, and then I'll get my body back," Sarah said with optimism. "It's not that simple," Grim replied, lying. He suspected the emerald he wore around his neck was the real cause of the switch. It had fallen out of Sarah's bag when she tried to escape, and he only noticed it when he later checked the boxes. He could feel its power. Grim had once been a second-rate magician, but after he stole the teleportation boxes from his late mentor, whom he killed to acquire them, his luck had changed. Now, with the emerald, everything seemed possible. His 5 acts in this place were just to make sure his plan went smoothly. "We have to try," Sarah insisted. "I can't stay like this forever." "It's just temporary," Grim said, trying to reassure her. "Once we get the money, we can retire somewhere nice, like the Bahamas, and you can marry me." The idea repulsed her. Grim was tall and thin, with no physical presence. His crooked nose and pencil-thin mustache made him look like a low-tier actor. Now, with her new body, she was stronger than he was. She hated the idea of having a man's body, and she sighed as she went to her room to rest. Though her baggy clothes hid her figure, any man who saw her face would still find her beautiful. But the idea of her body being used for ransom didn't sit right. Carter arrived at the museum and met Mike there. He explained about the suitcase he had found in his hotel room, the ransom note, and the hotel receipt he found at the nightclub. Mike, just off his shift, was now free to help him. "We need to be very careful," Mike said after reading the note. "It sounds like he's serious about the money." Carter slammed his hands on the steering wheel. "What the hell am I supposed to do to get that kind of money? Even those call girls can't sell enough to make that kind of cash." "Calm down," Mike said, trying to ease the tension. "We need to be careful with this magician. He's already a thief, blackmailer, and I wouldn't put it past him to kill someone. If he kills Sarah, you'll be stuck with this body, and who knows what else." We need to either bait him or make a partial payment. He's going to get impatient. Yeah. I know. Sorry for losing it. This whole setup has me all over the place. God, I might even be on the verge of getting my period. What the hell am I going to do when all that happens? Carter paused. All right, let's get to that hotel. I could use a bite to eat. I'm starving, and this body is making it worse. The two headed to the hotel, stopping at a donut shop for some coffee and snacks. Carter kept his figure mostly hidden under the coat. After some casual conversation, Carter excused himself to use the restroom. I'll be right back, Carter said. Where are you going? Mike asked. To the restroom. I'll be right back, Carter repeated. Carter went into the men's room, only to find it was in worse shape than expected. There were no stalls, just a grungy sink, a smudged mirror, a urinal with a hockey puck air freshener, and soggy cigarette butts scattered around. As he started to reach down, Carter thought, how the hell am I supposed to do this? He locked the door behind him and walked over to the urinal, taking off his coat. His shirt pulled tight against his chest as he unbuttoned his pants. I have to do this somehow, he whispered to himself. He pulled his pants down, revealing his bare legs and the snug lacy panties, which fit far too well for his liking. With a deep breath, he adjusted himself, then turned his back to the urinal and straddled it, feeling the discomfort of the situation. He began to urinate awkwardly in a way he never imagined. He heard jiggling at the door and knocks from a trucker outside. Hey! I need to get in there, the man called. Hey, partner, what's going on in there? An impatient man yelled, followed by the jiggling of the doorknob. To Carter's surprise, the door swung open. He quickly pulled up his panties, feeling a surge of adrenaline as he scrambled to adjust his clothes. Fella, you've got yourself a serious problem, the trucker commented, then called out to one of his friends, Hey, Zeke, get in here, you've got to see this. Carter yanked his clothes into place, zipped up, and bolted out of the restroom, his face flushed with embarrassment. Excuse me, Carter mumbled, I've got to go. As he rushed past the trucker, the man slapped Carter's rear end and shouted, Hey, take that, whoever or whatever you are. I don't know what to make of you, but you've got one fine rear end bush. Carter rushed to Mike, and they left immediately. Come on, Carter said. What the hell happened in there? Mike asked. That big guy saw, well, I should say, Sarah's, you know, Carter said, shaking his head. I was staring at him with my panties down. Man, what a weird feeling. I didn't even want to explain it. He paused. Let's get to that hotel. Meanwhile, in her room at the hotel, Sarah struggled to sleep. Wrapped in blankets, she lay there, feeling the weight of her new masculine body, her hairy chest pressing into the sheets. She thought about her former life, her frilly outfits, the lingerie she wore, and the audiences watching her perform with Grimm. Her beauty had always made the acts worth the price of admission, even when the performances themselves were less than stellar. She sighed, rolling over on her stomach. The flatness of her new chest pressed down into the mattress, and the weight between her legs made her acutely aware of the changes. As she shifted, she felt a mild erection begin to grow. She briefly considered satisfying herself, but the mess and the smell made her stop. My body, my beautiful, beautiful body, she mumbled to herself. If only I knew everything would be okay. Detective Carter and Mike arrived at the hotel and made their way upstairs. Grimm wasn't expecting them to be on his trail so quickly, but he was prepared for anything. Rooms 209 and 210 held the two suspects, Sarah in 209 and Grimm in 210. We should check Sarah's room first, Carter suggested. If it's all right with you, I'd prefer to go in alone. You can keep watch in case she tries to make a run for it, though I doubt she will, Carter said. They reached the rooms and knocked lightly on 209 to avoid alerting Grimm in the next room. No answer. They knocked again, louder this time. Inside, Sarah stirred. She threw on a lavender robe and peered through the peephole. She saw the two men standing outside. One of them had an odd stance, and his hands, those were her hands. "Open up!" Detective Carter called softly. "This is the police." "Sarah, I know what happened. You're not really you." Carter blurted out, trying to make his identity clear. "It's him. The man with my body," Sarah whispered to herself. Desperate, she unlocked the door and let Carter in. "It's you. Please, please, change us back," she pleaded. "Shoo," Carter whispered, trying to calm her. "I don't like this any more than you do, but we need to figure out how to fix this." "Do you know how?" "Yes, it's the emerald. We need the emerald. I know how to use it. I know all of his tricks. We have to get it, now," Sarah said urgently. "Keep your voice down," Carter warned, waving his hands in the air. "Grimm's next door. He'll hear us, and God knows what he'll do with that emerald if he realizes how desperate we are." "Oh, let me see. Let me see my beautiful body again. I miss it. Is it all right?" Sarah asked, eyes wide. "It's fine. More than fine," Carter replied. "It's just going to take some getting used to." "Let me see it. Please. I just want to see part of me again," Sarah begged. Carter sighed. "If it'll help you stay calm, sure," he said, as he removed his coat and started unbuttoning his shirt. He took it off, revealing his chest, encased in a lacy bra. Sarah watched, clasping her hands together and biting one of her knuckles as she stared at the body that had once been hers. "I miss it," Sarah said softly. "I miss the softness of my legs and the femininity I used to have. I was going to be a model once I got out of the magic business. And look at you, my breasts are so beautiful." She paused. "Can I touch them? I miss it all so much." Carter looked at her, confused and uncomfortable. What are you doing?" "I just need to feel like me again," she said. "It's not the same with someone else's hands. It feels different, and it's hard to explain." Carter's voice became more serious. "You need to stop before it goes too far." "I know," she whispered. "I feel it too. I want to get it back. I just want to feel like myself again." Carter gently pulled her hands away, his concern growing. She pulled back slightly, wiping sweat from her forehead. "You're right. I have to fight these urges. But I still feel lost." Carter, still trying to keep focus, responded. "It's natural. You're feeling my body's reactions, but we need to stay focused on finding that emerald." The two went out into the hallway, where they met Mike, who was trying to stay discreet. "What took you so long, detective?" Mike asked. "Nothing, just a little talk," Carter replied, trying to keep things light. "Sarah's ready to cooperate." "All right, on the count of 3, we go into room 210 and cuff him," Mike suggested. "No," Sarah said urgently. "He's fast and smart. He probably knows we're out here." Inside room 210, her fears were confirmed. Grimm had set a trap. A string was tied to the doorknob, leading to a bookend holding the emerald in place. As the door opened, the string was triggered, and the bookend fell. "Hold up!" Carter shouted. But it was too late. The momentum from the door opening set the trap in motion, and the emerald was destroyed. Sarah and Carter felt a sharp pain as they both realized the situation. "What happened? Are you two okay?" Mike asked, looking back at the two. With pain in their bodies, Sarah and Carter looked at each other. The familiar feeling of the switch was unmistakable. A laugh echoed from the back room as Grimm made his escape. "What do you mean?" Carter asked, not yet understanding the full impact of the magic. "The emerald," Sarah said, walking over to the shattered pieces on the floor. It's destroyed, and any changes it caused are permanent without it. She sat down, her face in her hands, now belonging to a body she could no longer change. You mean I'm stuck like this? Carter asked, a hint of panic in his voice. Yes, Sarah replied. We're stuck in these bodies for good. Carter, frustrated and helpless, said, I'll get that bastard. Where is he? I've got him cornered, Daniel yelled from another room. He's hanging on a ledge, high above the street. Good, Carter said awkwardly, running toward Daniel. Let's deal with him. Daniel continued, looks like he's trapped. Once we capture him, we can strip him of his magic and force him to find another way to change us back. Yeah, maybe, Carter muttered, still reeling from the situation. Wait, he's slipping! Daniel shouted. He reached out to grab the prisoner, but it was too late. Castillo's horrified expression showed as he lost his grip and began to fall. As he plummeted toward the street, Castillo tried to pull something from his cape, confident it would save him. But as he neared the ground, he revealed an empty, inside-out pocket. Whatever trick he had hoped to use, it wasn't there. Screams echoed from the street, and Sarah cried out as everyone witnessed the tragic fall of the great Castillo. If you appreciated this story and wish to show your support, don't forget to join me on Patreon for exclusive content.